Oh no, Koopa Troopers are invading the real world and they've been stealing famous monuments. Wait, what? Okay, just go with it. And to top it all off, when Mario was about to confront Bowser in his castle in Antarctica, he disappeared. Now it's up to Luigi to save the day. Mario is Missing builds on the wave of 1990s edutainment software. It's a bit like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but not as good. It was originally a PC title, which was fully voiced and everything, which was pretty impressive for the time.
Hi, Luigi. We figured you'd be coming by.
The Super Nintendo port is a bit less appealing. A lot of the assets were ripped straight out of Super Mario World. I really disliked this when I first played it. I felt like it was a betrayal of everything Mario stood for. Mario games weren't meant to be intellectual, they were meant to be fun, and this game wasn't fun, it was dull. The straw that broke my camel's back were the boss fights. At the end of every floor you get to battle one of Bowser's kids. Awesome, I love those guys. But look, you can't actually get hit. There is absolutely no danger and no skill. You just jump on their heads until they die. Absolutely lame. Not to mention that only 3 of them make an appearance. Basically, I hated this game in 1993, so it's with trepidation that I now approach Mario is Missing all these years later. I'm guessing it won't have aged well. Each floor in the castle has these doors that will warp you to a city somewhere on Earth, and once you're there, the procedure is always the same. Go kill the invading Koopas and collect things that they stole. Then go to an info booth, talk to the Princess Peach clones and kindly return the missing items. But it's not as easy as that. To prove you're not a fake, you'll need to answer trivia questions about the famous place you're visiting. Did you get that pamphlet the princess gave you? The information's hidden in there. So, it's really just a comprehension test. This isn't a game, this is school. If you get the questions right, you're allowed to return the monument and continue on your merry way. Once you've returned all 3 monuments, you can call on Yoshi to come and collect you and go to the next place. Okay, confession time. I actually didn't mind playing Mario is Missing. Don't get me wrong, it's not a very good game, but it's not as bad as my memory was telling me it was. The game structure actually works fine. I can't imagine any child will retain the useless tourism information they're bombarded with, but hey, perhaps it might improve some kids' comprehension abilities, and if so, good on it. The game's biggest problem is the same as Carmen Sandiego. It's very repetitive. If you want to finish this game, be prepared to do the same thing over and over and over again. The first couple of levels had an element of fun and discovery to them, but I couldn't play it very long before I was bored to tears. You know, I'm actually amazed that Nintendo used to be so free in licensing out its characters. It's a baffling product, to be sure. It definitely doesn't stand the test of time because it's an insult to the entire Mario universe. But on the other hand, the core gameplay still kind of works. It's not broken. And if you can put up with the repetition, I'll say it sits, but no, I don't ever want to play this again. I don't like guns. I generally don't want anything to do with them. The American love affair with the gun often scares me, and it seems to be infecting Australia more and more. Anyway, this Japanese game is all about guns. It's got the word gun in the title, and the box has a child wielding a gun. Wonderful. Well, I know this is a video game, so it clearly isn't designed to be taken seriously, but really? Kids with guns? Okay, jumping off my high horse now. Gunstar Heroes is a manic run-and-gun game. It's a little bit like Contra, but more colourful and crazy. There's some token baddies. Is that M. Bison? You play as the kid with the gun, and you have to destroy everything in your path. There's a pretty good variety of weapons to choose from. You select one at the beginning of a level, and then if you pick up another one while you're playing, you can mix and match the abilities, a bit like Kirby did in Kirby 64. Something about this game reminds me of another Nintendo 64 game called Mischief Makers, but that's probably because it was made by the same developer, Treasure. Both games have a nice, insane Japanese sensibility to them. I was a bit towards Gunstar Heroes when I first started playing, but it began to grow on me. It certainly plays to the Mega Drive's strengths, with lots of fast sprites and bright colours and stuff happening all over the place. Like Contra, it helps to play the levels a few times so you get to know how to overcome each obstacle and boss. And, you know, for the kind of game that it is, Gunstar Heroes is pretty good. Not necessarily my type of game, but I can certainly see the appeal. And hey, at least it's colourful. The early 90s was a big time for gaming mascots. Every company wanted to have the new Mario or Sonic to promote their games. Next week I'll be looking at perhaps the most notorious of them all. This week it's Aero The Acrobat. Oh, Acrobat. What a wacky pun. Strangely enough, this game was made by Iguana. Those are the guys who'd later go on to create the Turok games. Aero is an okay character, but he's also kind of annoying. I wonder, is Aero a boy bat or a girl bat? The manual says he's a boy, but he screams like a girl. The stages aren't strictly linear in this game. Every level has a set of conditions, like step on this many platforms or pass through this many hoops, things like that. Aero controls alright, but I wouldn't say it's great. Many of my deaths were just because the stupid little bat just didn't do what I intended him to do. Doing the drill move by pressing the jump button a second time just seemed really unintuitive to me. I don't know if that's just because I'm so used to double jumping in other games, but Aero always seemed to do it at the wrong time. Well, Aero The Acrobat is a decent game. It's pretty challenging, not always for good reasons. The character's got a bit of personality, but he seems a bit too much of a tryhard. I will say there's a few unique concepts that Sunsoft put in with the circus theme, but overall I found it to be a fairly forgettable platformer that's clearly trying to be the next Mario or Sonic, but in reality doesn't come anywhere near. The PC Engine. In Japan it sold more units than the Mega Drive. The American version, the TurboGrafx 16, didn't fare so well, disappearing into obscurity almost as soon as it was released. In Europe and Australasia it was unheard of. I wasn't even aware that there was a third player in the 16-bit console wars until it was well and truly over. Looking at the machine's lineup, it's not hard to see why. It just doesn't have the big name games like the other two had. But there was one. A PC Engine exclusive that was released for the CD-ROM add-on, a big-name game that gained a big reputation as one of the greats. Castlevania, Rondo of Blood. I've never actually seen anything resembling a PC Engine before, so I'm very thankful that Nintendo released Rondo of Blood on the Virtual Console. It also got a remake on the PSP, but I haven't picked that up yet. What I did used to own was the Super Nintendo kind of port, which was called Vampire's Kiss. I bought it really cheap second-hand, but I didn't think it was that great when I played it, so I sold it. Anyway, Vampire's Kiss is largely considered to be an inferior port, so I was glad to see what the real Rondo of Blood was like, and if it's a true successor to Super Castlevania 4.
Zu später Stunde kamen sie zusammen, gemeinsam die Mächte der Finsternis mit ihrem sündigen Blut zu rufen. Sie zu erlösen von ihrer sterblichen Existenz, dem Anbeginn einer neuen Welt vor Augen.
Okay, so they're talking in German and it's subtitled in Japanese. I'm sure they're saying something important. Even though it's not FMV, the intro is still stylish. It feels like a step up from the usual 16-bit cutscenes. The main character this time is Rick de Belmont, descendant of Simon and Trevor. Rondo of Blood is set in 1792, about 100 years after Simon's victory and about 300 years after Trevor's. Immediately there's some noticeable differences in the style of the times, but then you get into the castle and realise that some things never change. Disappointingly, Richter's control seems to be a bit of a step back from Simon's in the previous game. He's gone back to the earlier game's single direction whip, which is, let's be honest, annoying. 5 games into the series and the main character is still a pain to control. But after 5 games, I've kinda got used to it. There's also a secondary character, a little girl called Maria, who you can unlock if you find a secret area in the second level. Unlike the alternate characters in Castlevania 3, who I generally ignored to stick with the Belmont, I actually thought Maria was a cool alternative. She attacks by throwing birds, as you do, and she can summon other animals to help her as well, like this dragon. Cool. Most of the challenges in Rondo of Blood are variations on previous games. There's the usual Medusa heads, the mer people leaping out of the water. There's no major surprises here, but it's good fun to play. The branching paths idea that was introduced in Castlevania 3 is back and much more fleshed out. Now there are heaps and heaps of different paths you can take through the castle. I found one by accidentally getting knocked into a hole. Instead of dying, Richter landed on a whole new level. As usual, the game is pretty challenging. I admit I haven't managed to finish it yet, but because it's a cool game and I'm having fun, I'll keep at it. All up, Rondo of Blood is a great entry into the Castlevania series. I was all set to say that Castlevania 4 is better, but the more I play Rondo, the more I'm enjoying it, so I'd say it's on par. Next week, the mascots strike back. Bubsy the Bobcat finally takes on the big boys, but Sonic's gonna try and beat him at his own game. Meanwhile, there's also a strange movie tie-in. See you next time. Much peace, much out.